You may already be lying in a position that feels just right for you, but if you need to make any adjustments, there's no harm in doing so. When you're ready, bring your attention to the flow of your breath in and out of the body, that natural and familiar rhythm that we can count on as our gateway to peace and calm. Just notice the air as it enters the nostrils, feeling that very subtle sensation of coolness on its way in, and then sense the warmth of the air as it flows back out with the gentle release. Try to breathe in deeply and just hold that nourishing breath to your heart center for a couple of seconds. Release it back out, warm and soothing, as you inhale and briefly hold the breath that your heart wants more of. Just imagine that air warming within you and bringing comfort to your heart as you release it. Any burdens or troubles can flow out and melt away. Because our breathing is such a natural process, it's easy to take each inhale and exhale for granted. But it's the natural inherent process of the breath that also makes it the simplest medicine for our bodies and the easiest gateway to peace and calm. So continue to breathe deeply, holding the peace as it warms your heart, then letting go of anything disruptive as you exhale. There's nothing else you have to do now. Simply remain aware of your breathing as you relax more and more. While you do, we can begin tonight's story. I'll make way for Simon, as now it's time to meet the Pockets. The Pocket family is sound asleep on the kitchen windowsill, hidden behind boxes piled high on the counters. They've made themselves very comfortable here among the cloths and cleaning products. Mr. and Mrs. Pocket, known affectionately as Ma and Par, lie side by side, tucked within the folds of a dusting cloth. Ma is snoring, and every time she exhales, the yellow fabric rises in the air next to her. Par sleeps deeply, an expression of peace and contentment on his face. Nearby, the Pocket children sleep just as soundly. Both Matilda and Joe have made their beds within the wisps of a feather duster so large and fluffy that it's like sleeping on a cloud. Of course, the family doesn't usually sleep on the kitchen windowsill among cloths and cleaning supplies. For years, they slept in their own secret bedrooms, hidden in an old tissue box at the back of a kitchen cupboard. There they lived in blissful solitude for many years, rarely glimpsing the elderly couple who owned the place, or indeed any humans at all. But last month the moving van arrived. Every cupboard was cleared out, including theirs, as the elderly couple packed everything into cardboard boxes. All of a sudden, the Pocket family had lost their old home, but they weren't too worried. They saw it as an opportunity for adventure and exploration, an exciting new chapter in their family story. First, they decided there should be a temporary move to the kitchen windowsill while the new human family settled in. It was Par who chose the windowsill. He thought it might be useful to sleep beside the window and be woken by natural daylight in the morning. This way they would all be awake early, long before the humans. They'd have the house to themselves for a few hours, talk and eat freely, and even wash in the kitchen sink. It would also give them time to move into one of their countless tiny hideouts before the humans were up and about. And that's exactly what the Pockets have been doing over the past month. They've been observing the new homeowners from behind boxes, underneath furniture, and through cracks in the skirting board. Like the previous residents, these new humans are a family of two. They're called the Grangers, a mom in her early 30s, and a very smiley 5-year-old daughter. The Grangers have many friends, kind people who have spent the last month helping to move furniture, paint walls, and unpack various new objects around the house. According to Matilda Pocket, this is proof that the Grangers are nice people. They must be nice to have so many friends willing to help them out. The rest of the Pocket family agrees. They've overheard conversations between the mother and daughter. The Grangers seem to be some of the most kind and gentle humans that the Pockets have ever encountered. At bedtime, the mother sits at the edge of her daughter's bed, reading stories until the girl falls asleep. Then the mother tucks her in, kisses her forehead, and tiptoes softly out of the room. Pocket children are often a secret audience for these moments. Matilda and Joe sit comfortably on a nearby shelf, resting against the books. They love to listen to these soothing tales. Then back on the kitchen windowsill, they climb into the cloud-like feather duster and fall asleep. Although the Pockets didn't plan their stay on the windowsill, it actually worked out rather well for them in many ways. The last month has felt like an extended family holiday. The windowsill is the ideal vacation spot. They've dined like royalty on takeaways left on the kitchen counter, and they've enjoyed access to a constant supply of fresh water from the taps. Their bedding may be unconventional, but it's as soft and comfortable as the sheets in any five-star hotel. Ma and Pa have grown particularly fond of their velvety dusting cloth, with its scent of lemon and lavender. But they all agree that the best thing about their new home on the windowsill is the reason Pa suggested it in the first place. They love the sheer beauty of the light radiating through the window, particularly beautiful now that dawn as the sun begins to rise. Soft light disperses through the glass, casting a golden sheen across the family's sleepy faces, warming their skin with its gentle touch. Each member of the family begins to stir. They shuffle in their bedding and stretch their arms and legs. Joe is the first to get up. He's the tallest of the bunch. Joe yawns happily, stretching his arms above his head. Then he reaches down towards his toes, feeling the stretch through his back and legs. Finally, he sits down cross-legged to admire the sunrise through the kitchen window. It's the kind of moment that anyone would appreciate, watching the sun rising through a clear blue sky. But having spent a lifetime waking in the back of a dark cupboard, Joe particularly appreciates this view. So do the rest of the Pockets, who soon come to sit beside him. Recently, this has become their morning ritual. They climb out of bed, sit facing the glass, and look out at the sunrise together. They watch as the massive orb of golden light slowly inches upwards in the sky. It gradually reveals the natural beauty at the back of the house. There's a rectangular lawn bordered by rose beds, with a stone fountain at its center. Beyond the grass stands a typical wooden shed, painted the same chestnut red as the fence that encloses the space. To human eyes, it seems like an attractive, yet ordinary garden. But to the tiny people on the windowsill, it's different. Through their eyes, everything is elevated in size and grandeur. The garden becomes a kingdom, protected by the soaring fences that stretch up towards the sky. A shed is like a massive royal palace, a vision of chestnut red magnificence shimmering in the sunlight. And in front of the palace, there are the royal gardens. It's a vast landscape of emerald countryside, flanked on either side by rose bushes as tall as trees. They look like an enchanted forest canopy, sprinkled with ruby-like blooms. It's a spectacular sight, and what stands out above all else is the garden's most recent addition, the ivory fountain at its center. At the top, water spills from the tip of a beautiful stone pineapple, cascading downwards into a large round basin. Spacing allows the water to spill over its sides, flowing into an even larger pool below. It's a feast for the eyes. For the Pockets, this splendid fountain looks enormous, like an Egyptian pyramid. This morning, the Pockets sit by the window and admire the fountain, meditating on its sound. To human ears, it's a calm, trickling sound, but to the Pockets, it's a series of magnificent, gushing waterfalls. The fountain is like their very own Niagara Falls right outside the window. As the sun rises, patterns of light bounce on the water, resembling sparkling diamonds. The sight is so beautiful that Parr feels inspired. Turning to his wife and children, he says that even after they leave the windowsill, he hopes they'll return here often once the sun has risen. The family slips down from the sill one by one, making their way past the kitchen sink. They often have showers in the sink, taking it in turns to climb down the plug chain and stand beneath the dripping tap. There's nothing quite like that cool water to rouse the senses in the morning. Today, they're just passing by. There's no need for an invigorating wash right now. With the prospect of adventure ahead, pockets are energized and more cheerful than ever. The humans have settled down with their furniture in place and the walls freshly painted. So now it's time for the pockets to explore and find a new place to call home. Over the past few weeks, they've all spent a lot of time thinking about where they might like to live. Each member of the family has a preferred place in mind. Par are great believers in fairness and equality, so they've decided that each person's choice will be looked at and considered. The location of their next home will be chosen by family vote. The first person to showcase his choice is Par. This is why he's leading the way now. Protruding from his backpack are two repurposed toothpicks. These are his walking sticks, which are very handy when crossing uneven terrain. The pockets are experienced explorers, so everyone has their own walking sticks and backpacks filled with equipment. These are things collected over the years, repurposed to form an effective, adventurous kit. The pockets rely on these tools whenever they head out. For instance, their climbing ropes are a combination of knotted string, safety pins, and picture hooks. Thanks to these ropes, they've managed to scale every surface, no matter how tall or wide, smooth or rocky. Right now, the pockets resemble a group of expert hikers, but instead of striding through the countryside, they're crossing marble worktops as they journey through the kitchen. They weave in and out of spice racks and sugar bowls. Then, after traversing the perimeter of the sink, they step onto the electric oven top. It's as smooth as an ice rink, so they hold hands, forming a chain to stay upright. Their movements become smooth and effortless, and they glide across the glassy surface like a professional ice skating team. This feels wonderful, more like flying than walking. Everyone is delighted when Par turns around at the cooker's edge and leads them back out onto the glass. They twist and twirl, moving so gracefully that you'd think they were one person, not four. All of the pockets beam from ear to ear, even as they leave the cooker and make their way towards Par's chosen place. They've almost arrived now. They pull out the climbing ropes and ascend the microwave, with Par leading the way. Then, once they're all standing on top of the microwave, Par throws his rope upwards. It goes up through a rectangular gap in the base of the cupboard above them, pulling on the rope. Par checks that the picture hook at the other end is fixed firmly into place. Then he climbs up the rope until he's inside the cupboard and waits for the others to join him. For the rest of the family, this cupboard seems a little unusual. It's the first time they've seen one with a giant mechanical device inside it. This is the human's boiler, Par tells them. It provides the heat that keeps the house nice and warm. He leads them behind the machine to a spot where balls of cotton wool have been laid out like a sofa and chairs. At Par's suggestion, the family sits down, their tiny bodies sinking into the snug fabric of the cotton wool. Instantly, they're struck by the coziness of this place and the blanket of warm air around the boiler. It's a lovely, relaxing spot, the kind of place where one might sit and read a book, especially on days when it's cold and wet outside. When Par brings out a tray of tiny foil mugs filled with hot chocolate, it feels even more like home. He serves them out, explaining that all it takes is a speck of cocoa dust, a drop of water from the nearby tap, and a minute beside the boiler. Then there's enough hot chocolate for the whole family. The pockets are impressed. The hot chocolate tastes so utterly delicious. It's creamy and milky, combining the flavors of luxurious dark chocolate with a hint of sweet mint. They're excited about the place too, picturing what it might become once decorated and furnished. They imagine nights full of chit-chat and comfort in this luxurious hot cocoa. And in the morning, they can climb down into the kitchen, making a beeline for the windowsill and its spectacular view. How wonderful it would be, sitting together every morning to admire the beauty of the waking world. The whole family is enthralled by this warm and cozy space. But once the cups are empty, they're ready to journey on. Ma leads the group now. She throws the climbing rope downwards, catching the hook on the leg of a kitchen chair. Using a toothpick, she secures herself to the rope, then with her arms raised and a look of childlike mischief on her face, she zip wires down the rope. She lands effortlessly on the kitchen floor. The rest of the family soon follows, all smiling as they glide down, exhilarated by the ride. Then they walk on across the smooth floor and below the towering height of the kitchen table. Soon they arrive at a huge wooden sideboard. This is a new piece of furniture bought by the Grangers. It's a beautiful light pine that perfectly matches the table and chairs beside it. The sideboard adds a much-needed touch of brightness to the room. Below, there are 3 cupboards, their doors paneled with frosted glass. Ma explains that the middle cupboard is their destination. Then she plants her toothpick down into the floor and vaults forward through the air, through a gap in the cupboard door. The other pockets follow her lead until the entire family are standing inside. Led by Ma, they weave their way around mountains of fine bone china. There are plates, bowls, teacups, and saucers. Some are so smooth and delicate that they're surely reserved for special occasions only, and some of the plates are decorated with hand-painted artwork of such beauty that Ma thinks they belong in a museum or gallery. Other items are plain in design, like the mounds of teacups. Their curved surfaces are so well polished that they're like mirrors. Matilda is particularly amused by her reflection. She's also surprised by how much she looks like a real explorer. Seeing herself like this, she feels quite proud, both of herself and her family. Matilda also feels a little braver than she felt before. Although she's the youngest and smallest in the family, she feels she can stand and walk a bit taller now, with the confidence of an intrepid adventurer. This moment is just one of many happy surprises for Matilda. As she turns a corner and reaches the back of the shelf, a table comes into view. Ma has prepared everything. The table itself is made from a single bottle top, and on its surface sits a giant loop of cereal. It's a breakfast unlike any the Pockets have seen before. This single piece of cereal looks like a giant donut of chocolatey, honey-sweet loveliness, and it's so large it could feed the Pockets for a fortnight. As they look on in wonder, Ma explains her discovery. It seems that the little human girl eats cereal for breakfast every day. She always eats in the chair right beside this cupboard, and as she's rather a messy eater, she scatters morsels of delicious food everywhere. So right beside this cupboard, there is an endless supply of delicious food, not only at breakfast time, but at lunch and dinner too. The Pockets sit down around the table, their bellies rumbling at the sight and smell of the food. Then, without another word, they all tuck in, savoring the taste of the sweet, crunchy cereal. "I think we could be very happy here," declares Matilda. "It's much lighter than the last cupboard," says Pa. The others nod in agreement. The family relaxes, feeling utterly satisfied after their sweet, hearty breakfast. Once more they begin to daydream, picturing what it might be like to live here. Though it's not as warm as Pa's spot in the boiler cupboard, it feels just as comfortable and homely in here, and the thought of eating food like this each and every day is very tempting indeed. Joe could almost move in right now, but later, when the Pockets have left the cupboard, Joe remembers that it's his turn to act as group leader. He springs into action, leading the group back across the kitchen floor. Daylight fills the kitchen now, mellow and golden like the light at sunrise, but visibly brighter in some places. The floor is speckled with patterns of sunshine reflected through the window. The family walks through one such pattern, finding themselves suddenly awash in gorgeous, powerful sunlight. Beneath their feet, the beige floor becomes sand-like in appearance, and in the background, they can hear the ever-flowing water of the fountain outside, which sounds like the waves of a vast ocean. It's as if the family has been transported thousands of miles away to some exotic beach destination. Indeed, by the time they exit this tropical little spot, the tiny family are positively glowing. As they prepare to traverse the fluffy hallway carpet, their moods are carefree and relaxed. Perhaps this is why their walk over the creamy carpet feels so effortless. But even so, it's a rather lengthy journey and not the easiest of terrains to cross. It's times like these that the family is especially grateful to be together. They all hold hands as they walk among the thick velvety carpet fibers, supporting each other just as they did before. This particular carpet has only recently been laid, and it's the family's first crossing. Ma is pretty awestruck at its softness and bounciness, and everyone appreciates that new carpet smell. It stays with them all throughout their journey, lingering on their clothes as they step through another open doorway and into the living room. Of all the rooms in the house, this one is perhaps the most altered by the new homeowners. Gone is the burgundy carpet that Ma never liked, and in its place is a floor of polished mahogany. The old wallpaper has been replaced with sun-soaked terracotta paint. Framed artwork decorates the walls, displaying scenes from nature. Speaks to them are simpler pieces, most likely drawn by the Granger child. In the middle of the room sits a massive leather sofa. It's a comfy spot for viewing the TV that's directly opposite, raised high on the wall. This is without a doubt the biggest screen that the family has ever encountered. Matilda gasps at the sight of it while her parents chuckle quietly. It's hardly surprising that their son would choose such a place. Living beside a giant cinema screen would be a dream come true for Joe. But as the family follows Joe across the glossy floorboards, then up onto the coffee table, they soon realize that their assumptions are wrong. Joe isn't leading them to the sofa or to a crevice in the cushions which offers a view of the screen. Instead, he takes them across the coffee table to a sight far more impressive than the television. There, in the center of the table, sits a large rectangular fish tank teeming with life. Joe beams. He looks like a proud treasure hunter showing off his findings. Then he strolls across the table towards the tank and invites his family to sit down within the indentation of a decorative panel on the table. It's a great spot for the pockets. This little space is deep enough for them to remain hidden and slanted at the perfect angle to take in the tank. As the family sits side by side, they examine the marine and plant life in the vast aquarium. There are chunks of driftwood twisting beautifully in different directions, with fish of every color fluttering through the branches. Even the tiniest fish seem enormous, and each one has its own unique mixture of colors and patterns. One fish in particular is a striking shade of red and has large petal-like fins. Joe explains that he has named this fish Rose. In part, this is because of her color, which is the same ruby red as the roses in the garden, and the way she moves also reminds him of rose petals. Her movements are so smooth and flowing. She's like a petal floating through the water. For the third time today, the family is impressed. They all think it might be quite marvelous to move to such a place. Parr, in particular, has often dreamed of living somewhere near water, and now he can't think of a better spot. When he's not busy at work, it would be an absolute dream come true to spend hours on end just gazing into the water. Although the family loves the rosefish, they can't help but wonder if they'll miss the garden's splendid fountain. But when they listen more carefully, they hear the tank's peaceful burbling, and they find it equally soothing. As the pockets sit around the tank, they find that their worries dissolve away. It's so tranquil here, with the water's serene rhythms and the ever-changing scene of the fish swimming by. Parr, Ma, Matilda, and Joe become lost in the mesmerizing world of the fish tank. Even though they know they must move on soon, they don't want to leave this peaceful place. They could sit here forever, watching the fish glide through the water. After a while, Parr reminds the family that it's time to move on. There are still places to explore before the day is over. The others nod in agreement, though they all feel a pang of sadness at the thought of leaving this idyllic spot. Together, their steps through the house. Along the way, they can't help but reflect on the wonderful places they've seen today. Each one has its own unique charm, and each has offered the Pockets a glimpse of what life could be like in their new home. Now, it's time for Matilda to reveal her choice. She's been thinking about it for a while, and she's eager to show her family the place she's chosen. As they make their way back into the kitchen, Matilda leads them towards a small, unassuming cupboard beneath the sink. The door is ajar, revealing a dark space inside. Matilda explains that this is where the cleaning supplies are kept, and it's also where the humans store the trash bags. At first glance, it might not seem like the most inviting spot, but Matilda sees something special in it. She believes that with a little imagination and creativity, this cupboard could become a cozy and welcoming home. Matilda throws a climbing rope upwards, securing it to the handle of the cupboard door. Then she skillfully ascends, pulling herself up until she's standing inside. The others follow her lead, climbing up the rope one by one. Inside the cupboard, they find a small space with a linoleum floor, just large enough for them to sit in a circle. Matilda has brought a small lantern with her, and she carefully lights it, casting a warm glow around the interior. It's a simple yet inviting space, and Matilda can't help but feel a sense of pride at having discovered it. As the family sits together in the cozy cupboard, they can't help but feel a sense of belonging. This small space, once overlooked and ignored, now feels like a potential home. With a little creativity and a few adjustments, it could become a comfortable and welcoming spot for the Pocket family. Matilda looks around at her family, their faces illuminated by the soft light of the lantern. She can tell that they're all thinking the same thing. This could be the perfect place to call home. The Pockets spend a little while in the cupboard, imagining what it could be like with some added comforts and decorations. They envision tiny furniture, soft cushions, and even a small bookshelf filled with their favorite stories. As they sit together, Matilda can't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude for her family. They've been through so much together, and their bond has only grown stronger. No matter where they end up, Matilda knows that they'll always have each other. With a contented sigh, she looks around at her family, feeling a sense of peace and belonging wash over her. After a while, Matilda and her family carefully climb down from the cupboard, making their way back to the kitchen floor. They gather in a circle, each taking a moment to share their thoughts on the places they've seen. Pa, Ma, Joe, and Matilda each express their feelings about the spots they've visited, explaining what they love about each one. Once everyone has had a chance to share, they come together in a huddle, ready to make a decision. It's a moment of excitement and anticipation, knowing that they're about to choose their new home. They each cast their vote, and after a moment of deliberation, they reach a unanimous decision. With a sense of purpose and determination, the Pocket family sets off towards their chosen spot, eager to begin the process of turning it into a warm and inviting home. They know that with their creativity, resourcefulness, and most importantly, their strong bond as a family, they can transform any space into a place of comfort and love. As they journey towards their new home, the Pockets walk hand in hand, their hearts full of hope and anticipation for the adventures that lie ahead. No matter where they end up, they know that they'll face each day together, supporting and cherishing one another. With the love of family, there's nothing they can't overcome. And so the Pocket family sets off towards their new home, ready to embark on the next chapter of their extraordinary journey. As they walk, the morning sunlight casts a warm glow around them, illuminating the path ahead. They step forward with confidence, knowing that they have each other, and that together they can create a place of warmth, love, and belonging. As you listen to the soft rhythm of your breath, let the story of the Pocket family inspire a sense of togetherness and belonging within you. Embrace the comfort and strength that comes from knowing you have the support and love of those who care about you. As you drift into sleep, May you carry this feeling of warmth and connection with you, knowing that you are never alone. Good night and sweet dreams.